Good morning at 7 a.m. Welcome to ONNJ Mornings. I'm Ken Rosato. A winter storm just came through New Jersey, and another could come hit us this weekend. We will take your calls at 888-658-0234, 888-658-0234. Right now, we head to meteorologist Mike Favetta. A first check of the Garden State forecast, and that new winter storm possibly headed our way. But the good news, Mike, today is National Tortellini Day.
Yes, happy National Tortellini Day to you. It's a good day for the tortellini and brodo. You got the cold weather coming in,
Mm.
but I think going into the weekend, some more snow, getting ready for that, maybe not looking necessarily forward to any travel plans this weekend because it kind of gets messy out on the roads. Speaking of mess, there isn't a whole lot going on across New Jersey right now. Some live radar at 7:01 this morning shows the heaviest of the rain moved offshore. So while there likely is some spotty drizzle around, that light rainfall that came through just in the last few hours, especially in the overnight, clearing out most, if any, of the ice or snow that was just enough to coat the car tops overnight. In fact, rainfall totals just in the last few hours, anywhere from a quarter of an inch, the heaviest rain, down in southern New Jersey, to really barely a trace in the bucket up in northern New Jersey. And with that, milder weather moved in. So where you see that shade of green, we are well above freezing along New Jersey roads and highways, and the road temperatures creeping just to around the freezing mark in the northernmost sections of the state. So road conditions looking good and doing well, while they're still wet in southern New Jersey, dry for a good portion of the state, just a little icy slick spots north and west of 287, what you'd expect, where temperatures are a little bit colder. That's why through 9 a.m. there's a winter weather advisory only for Sussex County for the next few hours. So with that and the remainder of the day looking brighter, we'll start to see some clearing of the skies, and with that, a southwesterly breeze pushing in much milder air. We get up to 53 today over in Trenton, 54 in Camden, and 52 in Toms River. A very mild breeze coming in. It'll actually feel quite pleasant for the second half of the afternoon. Then the front pushes through, and that means temperatures drop rapidly tonight. So as temperatures cool off into the teens and 20s, not wind chills. These are actual air temperatures starting off your Friday, a very chilly Friday to start off Valentine's Day. Will at least be sunny throughout the afternoon. We're quiet throughout tomorrow and tomorrow night. And then by Saturday morning, look at that. Another round of winter weather spreads across New Jersey, starting off as all snow and staying snow for a good portion of the day until some milder weather moves in. Likely see some rain take over South Jersey before a light accumulation occurs up north. We'll talk more about accumulations coming up next. Right now, temperatures hold well above freezing statewide. The wind chill is above freezing too, even 40s already on LBI, thanks to that wind coming in from the south and southeast. So the next few days, it's cold again tomorrow with highs barely making it above freezing across most of New Jersey. Back in the 20s for Saturday morning, allowing for the snow to fall throughout Saturday morning and afternoon. A light accumulation by sunset, and then it all wraps up before rain takes over on Sunday as temperatures climb into the 50s. So another round of cold winter weather on the way. We'll talk accumulations and timeline and take a look at the next few days coming up, Ken, in just a few minutes.
All right, Mike, thank you very much. 36 degrees right now. 7:04 is our time. We do have some traffic incidents to tell you about right now. That sinkhole is still in existence on I-80 eastbound at exit 34. That's Route 15 in Wharton. All lanes closed. You're still being detoured. That's going to be a few more days before they can get that done correctly. Also, we have a crash on southbound I-287 at exit 40, Parsippany Road and Parsippany Troy Hills. One left lane closed. We also have a crash on 287 southbound exit 40. Oh, that's the same one. Okay, it says all lanes closed, so it was updated clearly from previously. So now they have one lane closed, and we have down wires on Route 94 southbound Church Street in Newton. All lanes are closed there. Also, some congestion right now. Delays on the Jersey Turnpike I-95 express lanes northbound from exit 71, Route 4 Broad Avenue Leonia to the GWB in Fort Lee. There's a 2-mile delay. That's all because of delays on the GWB itself. So that's causing some trouble. If you need to get into the city, you might want to give yourselves a lot of extra travel time for that. And delays on the Garden State Parkway southbound exiting at Route 130 or exit 130 rather, US 1 in Woodbridge. That is simply due to morning drive volume. Well, if you think your paycheck got smaller since January 1st, you are not alone. State officials in Democrat-controlled New Jersey hiked your income taxes. They say to pay for the state disability fund. The fund was facing a near $500 million shortfall by the end of the fiscal year this summer. And in typical liberal fashion, when they saw a shortfall coming, rather than cutting spending, they decided they would take more of your money as a better option. 7:05, the New Jersey Globe reporting that Jersey City Mayor Steve Fulop wants to keep Matt Plotkin as New Jersey's Attorney General if he wins the governor's race this fall. Republican Jack Ciattarelli used Fulop's statement to take a shot at one of his primary rivals, State Senator John Bramnick, who voted to confirm Plotkin. 7:06, the U.S. Justice Department has sued New York State Governor Kathy Hochul and other state leaders as part of the Trump administration's crackdown on illegal immigration. Attorney General Pam Bondi announced the lawsuit at her first news conference. Bondi said they were also suing New York Attorney General Letitia James and New York DMV Commissioner Mark Schroeder.
We're here today because we have filed charges against the state of New York. We have filed charges against Kathy Hochul. We have filed charges against Letitia James and Mark Schroeder, who is with DMV. This is a new DOJ, and we are taking steps to protect Americans, American citizens, and angel moms, like the mom standing right behind me, who you're going to hear from in a moment. New York has chosen to prioritize illegal aliens over American citizens. It stops today.
Bondi accused New York of prioritizing illegal immigrants, as you heard, over U.S. citizens. It comes after the Justice Department took similar action against Illinois and the city of Chicago last week and said New York just didn't take note of that. New York gives drivers licenses to illegal aliens and is trying to prevent the Trump administration from access to those files. And that is why there is this lawsuit. 7:07 right now, the Environmental Protection Agency announced plans to recover $20 billion in climate funding approved by the Biden administration. EPA Administrator Lee Zeldin announced the decision in a social media post yesterday, accusing the Biden administration of trying to quickly disperse those funds before President Trump came in with little oversight.
An extremely disturbing video circulated 2 months ago featuring a Biden EPA political appointee talking about how they were tossing gold bars off the Titanic, rushing to get billions of your tax dollars out the door before Inauguration Day. The gold bars were tax dollars, and tossing them off the Titanic meant the Biden administration knew they were wasting it. Following this revelation, during my meetings with members of Congress, I made a very important commitment to them and to the American people, which I reiterated at my confirmation hearing that if confirmed, I would immediately get a full accounting. Fortunately, my awesome team at EPA has found the gold bars. Shockingly, roughly $20 billion of your tax dollars were parked at an outside financial institution by the Biden EPA. This scheme was the first of its kind in EPA history, and it was purposefully designed to obligate all of the money in a rush job with reduced oversight. Even further, this pot of $20 billion was awarded to just 8 entities that were then responsible for doling out your money to NGOs and others at their discretion with far less transparency.
See, the question is, did any of the former Biden administration people leave the EPA and then go work for the companies that they distributed billions of dollars to in a rush before Trump took office to cancel that? And that could be a quid pro quo, of course, an action that might suggest some criminality. That's something they're looking into right now. So this decision intensifies President Trump's efforts to freeze wasteful spending across federal agencies. Lee Zeldin, whom you just saw, stated in that video that was posted on X, the EPA would terminate its contract with the bank that took that money, the $20 billion, overseeing the so-called Greenhouse Gas Reduction Fund. Remember, whenever something has a name, it usually does the opposite of what the name suggests. This was a program established under former President Joe Biden's 2022 climate law. Hundreds of billions of dollars in that, and nothing to show for it. 7:09, the Department of Government Efficiency, or DOGE, took its new website live yesterday and has published some astounding numbers. One of its pages shows how many mandates unelected bureaucrats write for every law that Congress passes. Look at your screen right now. You see the blue bar versus the green bar. Those little green bars are the numbers of laws that Congress, who you elected, passed. The blue bar represents the thousands of rules that unelected little mealy-mouthed pocket protector, thick horn rimmed glasses employees who have nothing to do with your election status. They're not chosen by you, they're just lifelong employees. They write thousands of rules on their own with no oversight based on those few little laws that Congress passes. That is what causes so many increases in prices because businesses, in order to run based on all those rules that the unelected bureaucrats write, in order to run, it costs businesses money. So if you're wondering why businesses go out of business or pass on huge expenses to you, you're looking at it on your screen right there. So it's unreal to think about the thousands of rules that these unelected bureaucrats have chosen to add. And when you hear many of the Democrats in Congress calling Elon Trump somebody that nobody elected rather, well, think about it this way. Actually, he was appointed by President Trump. He was given the authority to act in an executive manner by President Trump. Remember back under President Obama, he created 86 so-called czars during his presidency. None of those czars get congressional authorization, yet nobody on the left said a word about President Obama's czars. All Musk is doing is looking at data and presenting his finds to the president with the president's permission. It is President Trump who makes the decision what to do with that information. And Trump campaigned on cutting the budget deficit, so this should not come as a surprise. Why are the Democrats so defensive of all this budget cutting? Consider this. All those protests you saw over the years are usually staffed by protesters who actually get paid by left-wing activist groups. We now know that many of those groups were funded by GNOs, the people, those charity organizations that receive government funding to distribute among other charities. Well, the biggest funder of those NGOs and charity organizations was NSAID. NSAID is now shut down. Notice since they shut down, no protests have been popping up. Do the math. The left says that Musk's acts pose an existential threat to your democracy, yet not one group has stood up to protest. Yet before, when NSA or USAID rather existed, all these protesters popped up all over the place, burning down cities. Think there's a connection? And speaking of USAID, many liberals denied that the folks at USAID ever provided funding to terrorist groups, calling it a ruse from the right. Well, now Israeli soldiers say USAID humanitarian packages were actually found amidst a cache of weapons owned by Hezbollah terrorists in Lebanon. So yes, your hard-earned tax dollars through USAID went to provide aid and comfort to the enemy, food, aid, and comfort to murderous terrorists in the Middle East, courtesy of USAID, an organization which Democrats are screaming needs to be reopened, but that DOJ and President Trump ordered shut down. 713. Speaking of President Trump, he says he wants to take $500 billion in rare earth metals such as lithium from Ukraine, which he suggested may be Russian someday, as part of negotiations over continued U.S. support for Kyiv in its defense against invading Russian forces. The president viewed the deal as a means of getting back some of the hundreds of billions of dollars in cash and military equipment we already gave Ukraine, much of which was supposed to be a loan anyway, while preventing Russia from getting its hands on the minerals should they gain control of certain parts of Ukraine in a ceasefire deal, which we're close to achieving. In exchange, the U.S. would provide ongoing military protection for Ukraine. Meanwhile, Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth says it is not realistic for Ukraine to think that they will get back their old borders before Russia invaded and took over part of their nation. Another plane incident yesterday, this time a military fighter jet with 2 service members on board crashed into San Diego Bay. The crash happened minutes after the pilots ejected. Both service members were conscious when they were pulled out of the water. They were taken to an area hospital. No word on their condition or what caused the incident. 7:14, when we come back, the Middletown School Board set to vote on transgender student rights. And we will get another check of the Garden State forecast with meteorologist Mike Favetta. More on another winter storm that could be hitting New Jersey this weekend. And give us a call, 888-658-0234, 888-658-0234. You're watching On New Jersey Mornings. Don't go away. And welcome back to ONNJ Mornings. I'm Ken Rosato at 7:15. We're taking your calls at 888-658-0234, 888-658-0234. Another winter storm may be hitting New Jersey this weekend. Right to meteorologist Mike Favetta with the Garden State forecast. Good morning, Mike.
Good morning, Ken. We like the snow that falls on weekends, right? Kids get to go out and play. Nobody has to deal with the commuting, and you can kind of clean off the car at your leisure by Saturday evening. Because with another round of winter weather on the way, we wrap up this morning's rain. Live radar at 7:16, showing most of the heavy rain offshore, and we'll likely just have a few spots of drizzle for the rest of the morning, with the heaviest of the rain that moved primarily over southern New Jersey overnight, giving them quite a bit of heavy, wet weather. That has now moved east, and now we look forward to a drier finish to the day. We'll be in the middle of two systems, another round of clouds for the remainder of the morning before clear sky comes in this afternoon. And in the midst of that, very warm air takes over, allowing for highs today to climb into the 50s. It'll feel very pleasant. So with today's warm weather followed by the cold weather tomorrow, everybody's talking about the snow for Saturday. Here's the futurecast starting you off late Saturday morning, right at noon, with that snow getting going. And across northern New Jersey, notice southern New Jersey sees milder weather. We'll be in the upper 30s and low 40s. So by Saturday afternoon, it's a plain rain for you. Northern New Jersey sees that snow take over as temperatures are at or around the freezing mark right through 2 and 3 o'clock in the afternoon. That snow continues to fall and accumulate into Saturday evening. And then I think once we get to late Saturday night, when the most of the snow is over, round two comes in with a plain rain because it'll be above freezing statewide starting Sunday morning, and that rain lingers throughout the rest of Sunday, even into Sunday afternoon. So some steady wet weather after about 1 day of snow. What does that mean for snow totals? Well, the forecast starts us off on Saturday morning. You can see here the light snow getting going and accumulating to a good 2, 3, 4 inches. The darkest shade of blue here could be upwards of 4 or 5 or maybe even 6 inches. So really the hills of northwestern New Jersey, where it typically snows the heaviest, would see the highest amounts. The further less you head south and east, kind of that classic snow setup you'd expect for New Jersey in the wintertime. With the next round of snow days away, again, it's going to be very mild today, and then we cool off tomorrow, setting the stage for some cold weather. We didn't have all that much rain, only about a, say, quarter of an inch at most across the northeastern corner of the state. We'll tap into some of the clouds throughout the afternoon, but look at these temperatures in the mid 50s today before more rain comes in on Sunday, giving us up to 2 inches of wet weather down south for Medford, Millville, Atlantic City, even in Ship Bottom, up to an inch of rain for that Sunday part of the storm by the end of the weekend. So that's really the forecast in a nutshell. It gets cold tomorrow. It stays cold with some light snow on Saturday, nuisance snow. It'll be plowable in the northern section of New Jersey, and then quickly melts away with that steady rain and temperatures in the 50s on Sunday. But at least we start off President's Day on the right foot. We'll talk more about that with the 7-day forecast, Ken. It's coming up in just a bit.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Mike. 35 degrees now at 7:19. In a special meeting set for tonight, the Middletown School Board is poised to remove two key policies regarding transgender student rights. Here to discuss this issue is New Jersey State Assemblywoman Victoria Flynn, whose district covers Middletown. Good morning, Victoria. We got you on the phone to make sure I did it right. Can you hear me?
Yes, can you hear me, Ken?
Yes, we can. Thank you so much. Good to have you on. Well, tell us about the special vote on the table rather during tonight's Middletown School Board meeting.
Well, I believe the Middletown Board of Ed is finally going to take steps that they probably could have taken without the need of litigation. And I'm assuming action is going to be taken tonight in furtherance of that court decision that says basically you don't need to have any of these policies that the state was pushing down the throats of districts, and move forward with addressing your students in the best way you see fit that works best for the child and the parents and the school.
Now, there's
and I
something
think
called
that's
policy.
what they're going to do tonight.
There's something called Policy 5756. I'm sorry to step on you there. I just want to make
Yeah.
sure we understand because that's a state thing. What is
Mhm.
5756? What does it cover, and what's the controversy over possibly removing it?
Policy 5756 was a set of guidelines regarding how school districts should handle issues related to transgender students. And the the issue that became the point of contention was whether or not a school district had an obligation to advise parents when a student is decided to be referred to or considered as a different gender than what they were registered as a student when their parents, put them in school. And that's where the issue was. That policy was represented to all school districts throughout the state as a mandatory policy in furtherance of the New Jersey law against discrimination, which prevents discrimination against people of transgender students or transgender people in general. And so that policy was drafted. School districts were told they had to adopt it. Districts like Middletown said, well, we're going to do something that makes sure parents are also, we're not going to not invoke or make sure parents are involved. We're going to do something a little different that prevents all the issues that 5756 was intending to address. And then when they did that, the Attorney General's office sued them within hours of that action to say that they were violating the rights of transgender students under the law against discrimination and causing harm to students. Again,
which of course,
without an actual
that's
case or
Plotkin.
controversy.
Right,
Yes,
that's
the
Plotkin.
Attorney General Plotkin.
Plotkin is to the left of Mao Zedong. I mean, he's the furthest left. Anybody who thinks he's a great attorney general should really take a look at his record. This guy makes, traditional parental New Jersey people, even if they're Democrats, the New Jersey Democrats tend to be a little more middle of the road. This guy is like a communist in Democrat clothing. It's unreal. And the Jersey Court of Appeals recently ruled, though, that Middletown does not have to follow policy 5756, right? But they also said that the district's
Correct.
own policy might be illegal. So how does that jive?
You know what? My takeaway of reading that opinion was that none of this should have ever gotten to the appellate division nor the Superior Court, because what should have happened here, Ken, is that if the Attorney General had such a strong objection, rather than running to the courts, filing a lawsuit, issuing press releases, going on the news, saying that school boards like Middletown are acting against the best interests of students, they could have just had a conversation, talked about the issues, especially since later on in that litigation, in a related case in North Jersey, that's when it came out from the Deputy Attorney General saying, well, they don't have to adopt this policy. It's not mandatory. And school boards across the state went bananas. Because you know what, this policy and this whole issue just created strife in communities throughout the state because of confusion created by the Attorney General's office by saying in one breath this is mandatory, suing school districts if they didn't do it, and the next breath saying, well, it's really not mandatory. You can do whatever you want, And then what? Then you're still appealing cases to the appellate division. Sanity needed to step in. Good judgment needed to step in at some point. I would have expected the Attorney General's office, which historically was staffed by some of the smartest people I've ever worked with in my entire career. They should have stepped in and said, what are we doing here? What are we doing here? You know what we were doing there? They were doing nothing but politics, playing politics at the expense of probably, they say this is a very marginalized group of students. I agree. It's a marginalized group of people or people in our state. And they use them for political purposes. And to me, that sickens me. Instead of sitting down and doing what's best, having conversations.
Liberal Democrats never saw a court they didn't love. Unless it's a Supreme Court and you have a majority to the right, then they hate it and they demand that they be supplemented with more liberals. This is the way liberals solve problems. They're non-confrontational. They don't like to sit down and have a conversation. They would rather shove it right up your backside with the court system and not talk about what the parents who are paying the taxes actually feel the way things should go with their kids in a school district, which is why the Democrats are out of power nationally. And they're about to be out of power in this state for the very same reason. Now, the Middletown Democratic Party, speaking of which, they publicly condemned the move by the school district. What's your take on the community's response to the decision by the school board?
I think overwhelmingly the response to the school board has been supportive. And I think that's why the school board did what it did. But what they did was just defend themselves using Middletown taxpayer dollars to do so. Remember, this is also a school district that out of all of my towns, one of them that have lost state aid over the last few years. So they're losing aid from the state. They're being sued by the state and having to spend taxpayer dollars to litigate a case, which when I read that appellate division decision demonstrates this case should never have been litigated. It should have been resolved. And going back to these students, Policy 5756 says if a student doesn't want a parent to know that they are, using a different gender or referring themselves to a different gender or they're transgender, right? They don't have to the schools don't have to tell parents. What if that student is struggling at some point in time, but has told the school, I don't want my parents to know? Wouldn't you think the best course of action at some point in time for that school district might be, I need to tell the parents because I'm worried about this child? And 5756 kind of took that away. What I'll tell you, Ken, I've been on 2 school boards. I've dealt with this in very small doses, but I've seen this issue handled by schools, and I've seen it handled with the sensitivity required that works best for the child. I have no idea why the state had to shove a policy down the throats of school districts except to do what happened here. It created years worth of litigation. It created years worth of press releases so people could go say, I'm doing what's best for transgender students, and demonizing school boards and school districts that want to do what's best for children. Yep.
That's the problem.
Forget about
It
parents. No one
demonizes
cares
parents
about the
too. And
parents.
this is it, right. It takes away all the authority. You got to shut up and pay your taxes. Shut up and let us take your kids and raise your kids. You just shut up and sit down and it's us. And this is what liberals do. They think they know best for everybody, and parents should just sit down and shut up and just pay. And this is why they are out of power. And I'm telling you, they're about to be out of power in New Jersey for the same reason, because parents have had enough, even Democrat parents. One last thing, we got about 30 seconds left. Are there any plans or discussions among your fellow state legislators, unfortunately the majority are Democrat, to strengthen protections for parents as opposed to left-wing radical groups who want to make sure that a gay agenda and an LGBT agenda is enforced over parental rights?
Ken, the only thing I can say is if you're right and the political winds are going to shift and put more Republicans in my caucus, then yes, there is action. We want to get back to students learning what they need to learn in schools. State scores are abysmal. And this is what we're focused on. We're not focused on the fact that kids aren't mastering math and science and reading at the levels they're supposed to. That's what my caucus wants. If there's more members added to our caucus, we'll make sure to return the conversation in the school districts to what they're supposed to be about. And it's about education. It's not about political issues like this.
No, they want to take $35,000 per student, the Democrats do, but they don't want to do anything about it. They just want to take that money and shove it in their pockets and give it to the unions. And by the way, just to let you know, Linda McMahon, the new secretary of the Department of Ed nationally, a department that may end up going bye-bye, she said that she will do everything in her power to reinforce parental rights and order local school districts around the country to notify parents when there's a problem with kids transitioning. Listen, I'm a gay man. I talk about this every day. I'm not anti-LGBT, but my friends who are transgender, most of them are not gay, by the way. That's a misconception. Many transgenders are very heterosexual. They're just confused about their identity. And that is a psychological issue. Okay, we used to call that gender dysmorphia. Now they're afraid to offend. It was only during the pandemic when everybody was at home reading their phones that all of a sudden all these little kids popped up and said, I'm that. I'm trans. No, you're not. You're confused because you're going through puberty and you have been engrossed by your phone, so you don't have any social skills. So all of a sudden, that's the answer. You're trans. This is why we don't want 8-year-olds telling their parents they want their private parts cut off because they don't know what they want yet. And I'm sorry to get so emotional about it, but I'm just tired of liberal do-gooders who think they know what's best and that they should take your kids away and have medical stuff done to your kids. They should rot in hell if they think that that's the direction to go in. Assemblywoman Victoria Flynn, please come back. Let us know what happens tonight. And thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Thanks, Ken. And I hope you have a wonderful day. Bye.
Thank you. Don't be a stranger. Come back. All right. All right. Thank you very much. That's Assemblywoman Victoria Flynn. And we actually have a caller here. Let's go to our caller. Let's see. Let's see if I can do this the right way now. Do we have our caller on? This is Liz.
Oh, yes. Hi. Good morning, Ken. Thank you for having me.
Good morning, Liz. Now, you just heard Assemblywoman Flynn talking about this policy and how the school district, this is policy 5756, and how the school board wants to notify parents when kids are going by a different name and assuming a different gender. What's your opinion about that?
Oh, I 100% agree. Did you actually know a little history on this 5657 policy is that back in 2016, there was a policy that was approved by many of the school boards that basically said you had to treat everyone with respect, and that the school boards or school districts would work with parents to do stuff, and help the children in the best way possible for the children. Unfortunately, 2019, maybe 2018 time, Garden State Equality had taken a helm of changing this policy and lobbied to make sure that parents are not notified. Those were people who never had children and never raised children, tried to, in their view, they did what was best for their children, but we clearly know it wasn't. Parents and the school districts need to be on the same page to help the children grow in the best way possible. I know I am a mom of 3, and all my children were different. When I talk about my oldest son, who is now 20, when he was little, he used to love to dress up in certain clothes. That doesn't mean that he was that identity. Just for this 5 minutes of time, he loved being dressed up in whatever it was, whether it was a pirate. I know for his 3rd birthday, we did a pirate party. Does it mean he's a pirate when he's now 20 years old? It does not. And those kind of policies don't take it into an account. So people, school boards need to become brave on making sure they repeal these policies and include parents in the education and anything that has to do with children.
Liz, I agree with you 100% on that. And I think part of the problem is the loudest people are the left-wing radicals who show up at the school boards and they dress crazy and they hold signs and they scream. And I know a lot of the school board members are just parents, they're coming
there on their own time, no money at the end of the day, and they're just there to help, make decisions for the school district. And they're just everyday people. They don't know how to encounter these radicals who come in screaming at them, who are organized by money from the left, which, by the way, will now dry up because USAID does not exist. Don't be surprised that without the money from USAID, these left-wing radical groups will not finance the protesters anymore. You will not see the nuts showing up at all these meetings. Now we'll know where the money came from. Liz,
thank you very much. We appreciate you calling, and please call again.
Thank you so much.
You bet. Have a great day.
All right. And we welcome your calls too. The number is 888-658-0234, 888-658-0234. And when we come back, meteorologist Mike Favetta tells us about more wintry weather headed our way with the Garden State forecast, in the Garden State Parkway too. You're watching ONNJ Mornings, seen daily on ONNJ.com, Roku, Fire TV, News On, Samsung TV Plus, Apple TV, YouTube, Facebook, and X. And now we are streamed live on Twitch at twitch.tv/ONNJ. We're coming right back. Very good morning. Another winter storm could be headed for New Jersey. It is 36 degrees on the button at 7:35. I'm Ken Rosato. Welcome to ONNJ Mornings. Straight to meteorologist Mike Favetta with the Garden State forecast. Good morning, Mike.
Now it's the Garden State Parkway forecast. I'm going to charge a toll every few graphics. So when we get to the 7-day, now if you have your Easy Pass, you get your discount, but it's going to be $1.90 for every graphic. So it's a very New Jersey thing. I'm so glad you did that, Ken, because that was just Chef's kiss.
I'm glad I can amuse.
On National
Yes.
Tortellini Day.
And I
no
am
less.
your national tortellini.
So, Ken, it's going to be one of those days where we start off really, really cloudy, but transition to a spring-like feel, especially with highs that'll be up in the 50s by this afternoon. It's frigid again tomorrow. Another cold day ahead with temperatures on Valentine's Day slipping back down into the teens early in the morning, setting the stage for some snow on Saturday. And then by Sunday, that transitions to plain rain. There will be a mix of sun and clouds this afternoon in southern New Jersey, with most of the area picking up temperatures into the mid 50s at best. It'll feel really nice. Now, the clouds and radar showing all over the heavy rain offshore. Got a good soaking overnight in southern New Jersey, just a few spritzes and sprinkles up north. And what's left for the rest of the day will be clouds and temperatures turning milder. So the futurecast shows that very nicely, that warm southwesterly breeze allowing for the sunshine to break through, helping to warm temperatures into the mid 50s this afternoon. Doesn't stay long though, because as that wind shifts, pulling down a northwest wind overnight, we're down in the teens and 20s as our actual air temperatures to start off Friday morning. Then by tomorrow afternoon, stays cold all day. The clouds return for Saturday, and the snow gets going as soon as probably midday Saturday for most of the state. Moves in across New Jersey. Just the extreme southern tip of New Jersey from Atlantic City south stays rain, but it'll be snow across most of the state as the cold air is in place, and that snow falls heavily briefly throughout the daylight hours, wrapping up just in time for the Saturday evening time frame. There's our precip chances much higher on Sunday, because that's a plain rain that comes in and heavy at times, really washing away any accumulation that falls by Sunday morning. So with the forecast wind gusts on the higher side, especially later on tonight, it'll feel like 5 degrees in Sussex and Morristown tomorrow morning. 14 is the feels like temperature in Newark tomorrow morning, and 15 in Toms River. So when you enjoy that 55 degrees and mostly sunny sky this afternoon briefly, enjoy every minute of it, because it's back down in the freezer come tomorrow morning. And even for Saturday, as that snow gets going late Saturday morning, it'll still feel quite chilly. So the futurecast shows, with that milder trend coming in briefly, we're back to the cold weather later on tonight. Beautiful sunshine tomorrow, and then here's that snow that arrives for Saturday morning. And as the warm front crosses New Jersey, that's where we'll see the light rainfall take over in southern New Jersey, but staying snow up north. All the precip is basically done by the time the warm air arrives in northern New Jersey for Saturday. But Sunday, with our next system, that's when we get a little bit more rain and it stays all wet. And then Monday for President's Day is quite nice with the dry weather. So again, hour by hour, with the futurecast showing the majority of that rain shifting east by Sunday night. And we're back to clear sky come Monday with sunshine breaking through. It'll stay chilly into Tuesday, but cold. And that's another round of cold air that settles in. How much snow are we talking? Well, starting off Saturday morning, as the snow gets going into the late morning hours, it'll accumulate quickly, probably up to 2 to 4 inches in northern New Jersey, maybe less than an inch down along the shore points, 1 to 2 in northeastern New Jersey. Only that extremely dark blue section in northwestern New Jersey, where there could be upwards of 5, 6, maybe 7 inches for you, where you typically see some higher snowfall accumulations. The 7-day forecast is busy. We go from mild today back to cold tomorrow, and then the snow for Saturday. Winter weather advisory criteria, probably not much more than that. Another nuisance snowfall, but fun for the kids because it'll be snowing during the day. Rain on Sunday with milder weather briefly, and then it's back to the freezer. Overnight temperatures down in the teens for Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. South Jersey forecast has still a chilly day on tap for tomorrow. More of a rain mixing with snow event for Saturday, especially Atlantic City South. And then we have all rain Sunday, followed by another round of cold weather and sunshine into early next week. So, Ken, that kind of roller coaster ride continues as we plow through the middle of February.
There you go. Can't wait till March. Keep our fingers crossed it'll be here soon enough. Thank you so much, Mike. It is 36 degrees now, 7:40 is our time, and the Environmental Protection Agency announced plans to recover $20 billion in climate funding that had been approved by the Biden administration. EPA Administrator Lee Zeldin announced the decision in a social media post yesterday, in the process accusing the Biden administration of quickly dispersing the funds in the middle of the night with little oversight.
In regards to the assassination of the individuals you mentioned, President Trump signed that executive order.
Soundbite. There we go. I'm doing this. The wrong soundbite. Let's take Lee Zeldin, the EPA guy.
An extremely disturbing video circulated 2 months ago featuring a Biden EPA political appointee talking about how they were tossing gold bars off the Titanic, rushing to get billions of your tax dollars out the door before inauguration day. The gold bars were tax dollars, and tossing them off the Titanic meant the Biden administration knew they were wasting it. Following this revelation, during my meetings with members of Congress, I made a very important commitment to them and to the American people, which I reiterated at my confirmation hearing that if confirmed, I would immediately get a full accounting. Fortunately, my awesome team at EPA has found the gold bars. Shockingly, roughly $20 billion of your tax dollars were parked at an outside financial institution by the Biden EPA. This scheme was the first of its kind in EPA history, and it was purposely designed to obligate all of the money in a rush job with reduced oversight. Even further, this pot of $20 billion was awarded to just 8 entities that were then responsible for doling out your money to NGOs and others at their discretion with far less transparency.
While the decision intensifies President Trump's efforts to freeze wasteful spending across federal agencies, Lee Zeldin, whom you just saw, stated in that video posted to X the EPA would terminate its contract with a bank that took in that money and hid it, overseeing the Greenhouse Gas Reduction Fund, a program established under former President Joe Biden's 2022 climate law. 742, and there may be new information in the assassination of President John F. Kennedy. The FBI has unearthed some 2,400 new records linked to the JFK assassination following an executive order by President Trump. Here's what White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt had to say about the president's executive action.
In regards to the assassination of the individuals you mentioned, President Trump signed that executive order directing the respective agencies to do it. I know that that process continues and is ongoing. He's committed to transparency in the declassification of these very important files that I think many Americans are not only interested in learning about, but also have the right to know about.
Well, here to shed light on the development is Jefferson Morley, editor of jfkfacts.substack.com and author of The Ghost, The Secret Life of CIA Spy Master James Jesus Angleton. Jefferson, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me, Ken. I'm a proud liberal, and I hear you talking a lot about liberals on your show, and
I'm a libertarian, so just so that you know, I go either way politically, but I'm feisty, just so you know.
All I'm saying is, I'm an expert in JFK files, and that's what we're here to talk about. But when you talk about liberals in that way, I just don't recognize it. And when you talk to me, you're coming to me because I have expertise. And so let's talk about something that we agree on. Sure. I think some of your positions are misrepresenting where liberals are coming from, but we agree on this, so hear me where I'm coming from on the JFK files.
I'm silent. I'm leaving it open to you. You go.
Okay. So President Trump has issued this order. A lot of us have been calling for the release of these files for more than a decade. Okay. The question first came to President Trump in 2017. He caved to the CIA. The question came to Biden in 2021, 2022. He caved to the CIA. So the CIA has controlled this process from the beginning. Okay. And that's what people are tired of. And we have a good law. It wasn't enforced under the last 2 administrations. Hopefully it is being enforced now. This was good news that the FBI came forward with these files. What they did was they went back to their warehouses where they keep their records. They checked their record keeping, and they found these records, and they brought them forth, and they said, look, these are assassination related. We're gonna make them public. That's the attitude that we really need on the part of, now we need it on the part of the CIA as well, to get the full story of President Kennedy's assassination. Is there a smoking gun in these files? You know, maybe, maybe not. What there is a story of a great tragedy in American history that the government was never came clean on. Okay? And that has engendered generations of mistrust. That's why we find ourselves in a polarized country today, why we find people believing crazy conspiracy theories, because the government didn't have a credible story. And a lot of us for a long time have been saying, we need to get the whole story. And so now we're getting closer. President Trump caved before, and that can always happen again with politicians whose interests take precedent over in matters of principle. But he has made a strong commitment rhetorically. And Tulsi Gabbard, being in at ODNI, I think will be an advocate of greater openness on this. So that's a positive step. This thing's moving in the right direction, but implementation is everything. And we need to make sure that all of the government complies in good faith, and we can really get the whole JFK story. Then we have the other two assassinations, Robert Kennedy and Martin Luther King. Those are a little more complex in terms of gathering records. It's going to take a little bit longer. But JFK, we should be able to move quickly and get things in the next month or so.
Well, here's the question, Jeff, and this is, I think, what so many people have talked about, and you talk about the conspiracy theories, and you're right. Whenever there is just enough dangled out there, but none of the details, people are going to hypothesize. This is what we do, especially people in the media. I think the conspiracy theorists more than anyone are the media members. And I was I worked for every network for 39 years at the highest levels. And what ends up happening is we meet amongst ourselves and we have these conversations. So the question is, why? Why would the CIA keep so much covered up and just release the Zapruder film and nothing more and not get into any more detail? And it's because they didn't get into any more detail, or they said what didn't seem like a plausible story at the time, that everybody conjured their own opinions. So the question, I think, is, do you think when all is said and done, that there will be something that comes out and we'll say, that's why they couldn't tell us more? Or do you think it was just the FBI, I'm sorry, not the FBI, in this case, it's CIA, being so overly cautious that it caused unnecessary conjecture by the people because they held back so much?
Yeah. It's a good question, Ken. I don't think that, there's no one piece of paper that's going to change everybody's mind. But we have learned a lot about the assassination, especially in the last 20 years. And it hasn't been well covered by the media, which sticks to the official story, which based on the weight of the evidence just isn't credible. The idea that one guy shot the president for no reason, that just doesn't explain what happened that day. It doesn't stand up to the evidence. So that's why people want more, because it's like, there must be a better explanation. And I think there is, and I think we're going to get it. And I think it may not happen overnight, but I think over time, people will see that something, I think the evidence says President Kennedy was killed by enemies of his policies. He was very liberal on Vietnam and Cuba, Soviet Union, and people high in the Pentagon and the CIA did not like that. He had sworn enemies in very powerful and secretive agencies. And I think that's the story that we're going to get at. What does that mean for today's politics? Well, it means that we'll at least have the truth, and it will especially for the generation like me who has some bare memory of this. This is an important, pivotal event in American history, comparable to 9/11, and so the truth matters, and we're finally maybe getting close to the end of the story.
I hope, and I hope this helps restore some more confidence in the government and in our, as they call them, the spook agencies, because I think a lot of people have just had it. We're the taxpayers. We're giving you all this money, and you're just going to treat us like nothing. Granted, there are things you got to keep quiet, but it gets to a point where you say, well, why are we paying you? Get lost. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens. Go ahead. I'm sorry, Jeff.
Yeah. No, so, Congress passed a law unanimously, right? Think of that. Every Republican, every Democrat got together and said, we want these JFK records in public. That was in 1992. And they said, yes, the CIA, you can keep stuff secret if you want for up to 25 years. After that, everything's public. So 25 years later, in 2017, this comes to Trump. The law is very clear. The people have spoken. It was passed unanimously by Congress. It was signed into law by a Republican. It was implemented by a Democrat. It couldn't be more commonsensical. And the CIA and the FBI didn't care. They went to Trump and said, we don't want to release this stuff. And Trump said, okay. And so They got their way, and now we're 8 years past that deadline. And the FBI and the CIA they don't care what Congress said. They don't. I mean,
that's why we need a shakeup. That's why we need a shakeup, Jeff. A lot of the people at the top need to get lost. You don't want to. They don't care about congressional oversight. They don't care who the president is. We've seen undercover videos of some of their underlings saying, these people come and go. Screw them. We're the real people who run the country. They have an attitude, and they got to get lost. Sorry, their crap doesn't stink.
And this is why I think JFK matters. Is one way that you make a democratic government work is you have accountability. You have an independent press that holds people accountable and a Congress that holds the executive accountable. And everybody is heard from, and you make policy accordingly. So the JFK is also, what happened a long time ago, but the reason why it endures, I think, is that people want some accountability on this story. They don't want this feeling that we've been treated with impunity, and hopefully, it's way, way, way too long. Like I said, some of us have been working at this for 15 years, saying all of these records should be made public. Common sense. We're finally getting there, and I think it can be a good thing. Like I said before, implementation is everything.
Well, Jefferson Morley, I want you back on again. You're a good Democrat. We could, if you want to come on another day, we'll debate Democrat, Republican stuff or liberal. I'm really not, like I said, I'm not a hardcore Republican at all. I'm a conservative libertarian. There's a big difference. There's a lot with my Republican friends I don't agree with, but overall, I think you and I probably agree on more things than we don't. So I appreciate you coming on. Jefferson Morley, editor of jfkfacts.substack.com and author of The Ghost, The Secret Life of CIA Spy Master James. And is it Jesus Angleton or Jesus?
Jesus was his middle name.
Jesus, forgive me for mispronouncing it. So it's The Ghost, The Secret Life of CIA Spy Master James Jesus Angleton. Thank you so much, Jeff, for coming on this morning. I really appreciate you taking the time.
Thanks for having me, Ken. We'll do it again. Take care.
Please. Thank you so much. All right. Have a great day. And let's move on now. We went really long with the segment, but that's a good thing. We like good phone calls, and we want to always take your calls at 888-658-0234. It is now 7:53, and we have the newest person running for governor in the state of New Jersey in a field that's already large. It's getting larger. The crowded race has now grown by another. A new contender stepping into the political arena, former Englewood Cliffs Mayor Mario Kranjak, officially announcing his candidacy for the Republican nomination for governor of New Jersey. And joining us this morning to discuss the campaign now, the man himself, Mario Kranjak. Welcome to ONNJ Jersey Mornings. Good to have you on.
Good morning, Ken, and thank you for having me.
You bet. Thank you for your patience for running a little long this morning. I appreciate it.
That was very interesting.
Yeah, we get a little feisty here. I'm a libertarian conservative, and a lot of people who call are not. So it's a good thing, though. This is what makes for raising the blood pressure in the morning. So now you must have encountered a lot of this because you were one of the first Republicans elected in a fairly liberal town of Englewood Cliffs, and you weren't just elected once but twice. So you're able to rally people on all sides to your cause.
I did, and I had a great team that helped me do that. We replaced a one party, one family control of 42 years in Englewood Cliffs, and it wasn't the Republican Party; it was the Democrat Party. And as the first Republican in 42 years, we did a lot of good. People said we'd never get reelected. I got reelected. So that goes to prove that with common sense policy and a return to normal, you could win in New Jersey. And that's what we're trying to do at the state level.
Yeah, so what made you decide now is the time to jump in and run for governor? Did you sense that New Jersey is starting to shift, toward Trump or the right a little bit?
Well, it's definitely shifting. But also, I think the voices of those who have been silenced for so long are being heard now. But most importantly, after years of campaigning and millions of dollars spent, the people who are in the race before me haven't really moved the needle. With at the end of January, 47% of Republican primary voters were still undecided. So that showed me a pathway to actually enter the race and to win in the primary and also in the general.
And you've described yourself, I know, as a forever Trumper because there's at least one other candidate in the race on the Republican side who considered himself for years a never Trumper. You are a forever Trumper and a political outsider, certainly to the state politics level. How do you plan to use that in your campaign to appeal to New Jersey's voters who tend to go back and forth with the pendulum?
Well, I think New Jersey voters are tired of administrations like the Murphy administration and his attorney general who are defying laws and actually violating their oaths of offices. I've done this. I could do it at the state level. And as a forever Trumper, one of the funniest things when I was mayor was the Star Ledger, which were like the Scriveners for the Democratic Party here in New Jersey, basically had a headline that said, called me the Trumpy mayor of Englewood Cliffs. And I said, well, you know what, that's great. It was back in 2017 or 18. I forget the exact date. But people actually rallied behind that. And actually all my public meetings, when I would want to just pontificate a bit, I would always tell everybody how good Trump's policies were at the time. And just to stir the pot, as you just did with your caller. So it was interesting reactions. We think President Trump has great policies for the United States, great policies.
By the way, people on the left who think, they look at President Trump, well, he's a Republican conservative. He's really not. President Trump is a Trump. He's a Republican in many ways. He's libertarian in some ways, and he's even a little liberal in some ways. They forget that he was a lifelong Democrat up until the last 8 years. So that this guy is a pragmatist more than anything else. He looks at a problem and he says, all right, how do we solve it? Look at how many Democrats he put in his administration. This guy is not an ideologue by any stretch.
Yeah, so I think the common thread there is that people want to just solve problems, and the Democratic Party left a lot of people, and they don't realize it, and they're starting to realize it. I was at a dinner last year with Tulsi Gabbard, and she was a Democrat as well, and now a Republican. She's in the cabinet. She's the in charge of ODNI, right? And as of yesterday, anyway. And so she actually saw problems and wanted to solve them, just like everybody else who takes an oath of office should be doing. Not always the case, though.
Now, you saw both of the recent debates, I'm sure, the Democrat and the Republican debates. There are more coming up in a couple of months. What did you think of those debates? And I know one of your issues is you like to cut property taxes. That's a huge problem, for a big burden for so many New Jersey residents. You want to cut those taxes by 2% each year if you're elected governor. So, number one, what did you think about the debates? And number two, how would you accomplish that without severely impacting essential services and with so many Democrats in the state legislature?
Two great questions. So on the debate question, I was told that I actually won the debate. It was on the Republican side. It was a food fight. I wasn't there, and nobody actually discussed any substance. And as of a few days ago, most of the websites for the candidates who I'm running against had no issues listed. We've always had at least 9 issues on our website since we launched a few weeks ago as well. In terms of property taxes, here in Englewood Cliffs, we cut property taxes or kept them even every year I was mayor without cutting services. And that's the most important thing. And I'm glad you raised it because people need services, but they also need the right services. They don't need CRT in schools, and they don't need DEI everywhere else. So we did cut taxes. We did not cut services, and we could do that at the state level. Now, at the state level, if you look at our schools and our budgets, there's a lot of fluff in there. Okay, schools are for teaching. Let's prioritize the teachers who actually teach. Let's prioritize teachers who actually teach the basic things to children, and let parents teach everything else that they want the children to know. So to make New Jersey taxes go down, you have to make it affordable for everybody. And it's just not fair that the burden of taxes is on a few people and a lot of people are benefiting from it. For example, New Jersey doesn't need every official document to be translated into 7 languages, right? I'd rather just spend money teaching people English if they don't speak English. My parents came to America. They did not speak English. In fact, we all learned English together. I was born here, but they weren't speaking it at home. So it's all very possible. It's just people have to, as a citizen, you have a responsibility also to assimilate and to benefit the country that you're in.
Right. It's not about keeping people out. Listen, I speak 7 languages because I chose to learn 7 languages. If I were to move to Italy today, it would be assumed I would learn Italian. If I were to
Right.
move to Greece, it would be assumed, even though many people speak English, that's not the official language there. It's Greek. Now you'd say, but Ken, America doesn't have an official language. And it's stupid us for not making one. But the reality is the language spoken by 97, 98% of the population is English. So scratch our heads, make sense of it. If you want to make money in this country, you want to have a business, you want to get an education, learn the damn language. Hard language to learn, but learn the rudiments of it. So we got about a minute left here. You had, a challenging relationship like many mayors of both parties with affordable housing mandates, because you take a penny from the federal government, they come in and tell you, you have to put affordable housing here and there, right in the middle of your wealthiest neighborhood. How do you deal with that on a state of New Jersey level?
So New Jersey's upside down on that issue. It's not about affordable housing. It's about making the whole state affordable. And, those affordable housing mandates that we suffer through here in New Jersey are just unfunded taxes that have unfunded mandate that are really taxes on people who already own properties. And, unfortunately, they weaponize the judiciary here in New Jersey to enforce that, to be the jackboot of affordable housing. I think no one absolutely should ever be discriminated against in any housing situation or anything, really. But that's not what they're doing now. They're basically enriching their friends with these 80-20 formulas where 80% are market-based, 20% are affordable. The profits are so huge that the developers, and I don't blame them because the law's in their favor, they get to kick that money back to the politicians who get reelected, who appointed judges, who enforce the whole thing. So the whole thing is a circle sham that we need to stop. We need to make the whole state more affordable. And putting high density housing in communities that are not connected to metropolitan areas or to New York City, don't have a supermarket, you can't buy a gallon of milk in, it really makes no sense. You're not benefiting anybody.
They don't have infrastructure. They don't have the infrastructure. They don't have the pipes. They don't have the electricity. But let's shove a building in the middle of the town where you have nothing but one family housing around there. Let's shove a 20-story building in the middle and make it 20% low income. It's just antithetical to all things American. What is the incentive to work hard, to make a little money and get ahead and move to a nice community, if then the government is going to impose, well, let's take some low income housing and shove it right next to your property that you worked your whole life to afford? This is the way liberals think, because they like to, they think that their method is always best. This is why socialists and communists have failed everywhere they've tried. But I'm sorry, I have no opinion on it.
I love your opinion.
Well, listen, I'm going to give you, because it's my fault. We're running a little late here, but I just want to give you the opportunity to say everything. And the one thing I got to ask you about is term limits. That's a sensitive issue. How would you ever get term limits imposed? And that's something you're interested in doing, right?
Absolutely. So the only term limited office in New Jersey is the governor's office. And that's why you have mayors who are outstaying their welcomes and council people. Look, as mayor, I self-imposed a 2-term limit. Nobody thought I was serious. I honored it. I served 2 terms, and I left that office at the end of 2023. It is very important because that ties into the whole formula of trying to make New Jersey more affordable. You need to get the people rotated out of their offices who make all these bad decisions and who award these contracts to their friends and to their affiliates and to their own companies. And you need to basically stir the pot every couple of years and do a reset. And basically, we need a New Jersey Doge as well. That was one of the first things I said.
Well, that's a good idea.
The other candidates are now following on. They're copying me, but we do. I did that in Englewood Cliffs. We cut everything, but without cutting services. We cut overtime. You don't need overtime unless there's an emergency.
If you just reduce the budget by 5%, I mean, if these departments can't make good with just a 5% reduction, then they don't know what they're doing. Because private businesses, they got to cut budgets all the time. But the government just looks at it as, no, let's not cut the budget. Let's just charge more in taxes. That is what Democrats do. That's their mantra, because they look at money as the property of government, and we'll let you keep a few pennies if you're good. That's the problem. They don't look at it as your work earned you that money. They think of it as their money, and you will do what they tell you. That's why they are now out of office federally, and they'll probably be for the long haul. Republican candidate for New Jersey Governor Mario Kranjak. We're out of time, but please come back. Don't be a stranger. I thank you for joining us here on New Jersey Mornings.
Thank you, Ken. Have a great day.
You too. It is 8:05 right now, and it is 36 degrees. When we come back, meteorologist Mike Favetta with more on the winter weather headed our way. Don't go away. Very good morning. Welcome to ONNJ Mornings. I'm Ken Rosato. We're going to take your calls at 888-658-0234, 888-658-0234. In the meantime, we have another winter storm possibly headed our way. Straight to meteorologist Mike Favetta with a check of the Garden State forecast. Good morning to you, Mike.
Hey, good morning, Ken. Last night's system was kind of a dud. Even you woke up this morning, was expecting a little bit more snow, but we just mostly got rain across New Jersey. And now that rain exiting quickly offshore, already way too far east. So the radar looking at predominantly cloudy start to the day, and then we'll eventually see that transition to more of a clear sky this afternoon. And with the southwesterly breeze, that'll bring up temperatures nicely well into the 50s, even rainfall totals less than a quarter of an inch there across southern New Jersey. Temperatures are warming nicely. Road surface temperatures above freezing for most of the state, even on the untreated surfaces. So we'll continue to see that melting occur, and the lingering bits of snow are really only in the hills of the northwestern corner of the state. Everywhere else, nice and dry. The only winter weather alert is an advisory for Sussex County. That's for that remaining frigid weather just in the hills of northwest Jersey. But even that exits by the afternoon as temperatures, thanks to a southwest wind and a few breaks of sunshine, just after the lunch hour, warm us into the mid 50s. It'll feel fantastic later today, almost like a taste of spring. But you have to count the hours that it'll feel like spring, because as soon as the sun sets, we are back down in the 30s due to a wind shift pulling in drier northwesterly winds that'll send our temperatures back down into the teens and single digits, at least with the wind chill, for early tomorrow morning. So a very cold and blustery start to Valentine's Day. It stays chilly all Friday afternoon as well. And then Saturday morning, the cold air is in place, allowing for the snow to get going. And that snow lingers throughout all day long. South of the Atlantic City Expressway, it's a plain rain. But north of that, you will get a light accumulation, especially north of Route 78 and north of Route 80, could be upwards of 4 or 5 inches of snow with this system. So a nice little healthy dose during the day on Saturday. Great sledding weather for the kids. Once we get to the afternoon, these temperatures will have warmed already above freezing statewide, and the wind chill, not terrible, even with that southerly breeze pushing in some milder weather. So North Jersey's forecast today, a mix of clouds and sun, lingering flurries there in the northwestern corner, but overall an improvement from the last few days, especially with the big warm up that lasts, well, just this afternoon, because we're back in the 30s tomorrow. Snow accumulating on Saturday during the day, and then as the sun sets Saturday night going into Sunday, that all transitions to rain due to some milder weather taking over. So a bit of a change there in the forecast with the ups and downs, because next weekend it gets cold. We're back in the 30s to start off next week.
Have I mentioned here on National Tortellini Day how much I dislike the cold in February? I just thought I would share. You're my brother from another mother, so I could share with you just between us.
That's what the tortellini is all about. It keeps you warm, hugs you from the inside out.
Hey, remember it was shaped to look like what? Was it Venus de Milo's belly button? Somebody's belly button.
Somebody's belly button, yeah.
Or David, maybe David, whatever. I don't know. We'll figure. I'll look it up. Google. Thank you so much. All right, meteorologist Mike Favetta. It is now 36 degrees at 8:09, and checking traffic right now. We still have that sinkhole on I-80 eastbound in Wharton at exit 34. Crash on 295 in Westville. That's at exit 25 on the southbound exit ramp. We also have a crash on Route 42 northbound, north of exit 10A, which is Black Horse Pike in Gloucester Township, one left lane and shoulder closed, and a crash on I-78 eastbound at exit 20 in Lebanon Township, one left lane closed. If you think your paycheck has gotten smaller since January 1st, you're not alone. State officials in Democrat-controlled New Jersey hiked your income taxes, they say, to pay for the state's disability fund. The fund was facing a near $500 million shortfall by the end of the fiscal year this summer. And in typical liberal fashion, rather than cutting spending, they just decided, let's just charge the taxpayers a lot more money. That's a better option. The New Jersey Globe reporting that Jersey City Mayor Steve Fulop wants to keep Matt Platkin as New Jersey's Attorney General if he wins the governor's race this fall. Republican Jack Ciattarelli used Fulop's statement to take a shot at one of his primary rivals, State Senator John Bramnick, who voted to confirm Plotkin. 8:10's our time. President Trump says he wants to take $500 billion in rare earth metals such as lithium from Ukraine, which he suggested may be Russian someday, as part of negotiations over continued U.S. support for Kyiv and its defense against invading Russian forces. The president viewed the deal as a means of getting back some of the hundreds of billions of dollars in cash and military equipment we already gave Ukraine, much of which was supposed to be a loan anyway, while preventing Russia from getting its hands on the minerals should Russia gain control of certain parts of Ukraine in a hopefully soon ceasefire deal. In exchange, the U.S. would provide ongoing military protection for Ukraine, and the Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth says it is not realistic for Ukraine to think that they're going to get back their old borders before Russia invaded and took over part of their nation. MIT scientists designing robotic insects that could one day swarm out of mechanical hives and perform pollination at a rapid pace, ensuring that fruits and veggies are grown at an unprecedented level. The new technology could increase crop yields dramatically without harming the environment. Previous designs did work, but they couldn't fly for very long. Well, these new designs can actually fly 100 times longer than previous versions, and this could be a game changer for food production, meaning starvation may be a thing of the past. In recent years, bee populations have been shrinking, making the pollination of plants increasingly difficult. And from the Damn That's Cool file, students at a Somerset County charter school got an interview with an astronaut stationed aboard the International Space Station. NASA astronaut Nick Hague was around 250 miles above the Earth when he was able to answer a dozen pre-taped questions from students at the Thomas Edison Energy Smart Charter School in Franklin Township. They got to ask questions ranging from whether you could grow plants in space to whether anybody ever got bored up at the International Space Station. 8:12's our time, and Trenton political junkies, listen up. New Jersey Globe editor David Wildstein is here now with the Inside Edge.
Hi, everybody. Good morning. Welcome to the Inside Edge. Today is Thursday, the 13th of February. And one of the most enjoyable parts of participating in this month's Democratic and Republican gubernatorial debates was the opportunity to work with some truly remarkable students at Rider University. There were about 30 of Micah Rasmussen students who volunteered their time to help make these two debates work. And as someone who developed an interest in politics at a young age, it's rewarding to watch the next generation of leaders up close, especially those as talented as the people that I watched at Rider. Some of them will run New Jersey someday. And one of that large group of impressive students was a young man named Joe Seawald. He's a junior political science major, and his knowledge of New Jersey politics astounded me. He knew his districts, he knew his numbers, he knew the players. He talked about how he predicted to a high school government class that redistricting made New Jersey's 9th congressional district more competitive than people thought, and he was right. You might remember Joe from the Republican debate. He's the one who asked a question on New Jersey transit. He said Phil Murphy said he'd fix New Jersey transit if it killed him. He's not dead, and it's still not fixed. And I think it's actually possible that he was wearing Allbirds when he asked that question. On the Saturday morning, the day before the Democratic debate, Micah Rasmussen, Zach Blackburn, and I were on the stage at the podiums And we were sort of engaging in a mock debate to get some members of the crew ready for the explosions that we thought it might happen at the Democratic debate. It absolutely happened a couple of days later at the Republican debate. And Joe Seawald asked to play Steve Fulop, and there he was, age 20, not old enough to buy a bottle of John Bramnick's funny vodka, but he was holding his own, and he was sort of mastering Fulop. Now, I have to say that there was something Joe said that made me feel a little old. He told me he'd been reading the New Jersey Globe since he was in middle school. That's when he was following the Lance versus Malinowski congressional race in 2018. I guess I'll forgive him for that. And remember the name Joe Seawald, who reminded me so much of a young Steve Kornacki, especially the story of a young Kornacki, age 11, playing the Democratic candidate for governor of Massachusetts in a mock debate. I'll let him tell that story someday, but he got in a little trouble for the way he did it, but he did it accurately, of course. And if you're young and interested in politics, don't be afraid to get involved. Volunteer on a campaign, work for a cause you believe in, get an internship, start at the bottom and work your way up, and don't hesitate, don't hold back. Anyway, that's everything I have for today, and I will be back tomorrow.
All right, it is 8:16 right now. The temperature 36 degrees. ONNJ Jersey Mornings continues. The Rockaway School Board debated eliminating Columbus Day from its calendar. What was the result? We will talk to Andre Domino from the Italian American One Voice Coalition. Plus, don't put away those snow shovels just yet. Meteorologist Mike Favetta says more wintry weather could be headed our way this weekend, and we will take your calls at 888-658-0234. 888-658-0234. When ONNJ Jersey Mornings continues in just a minute. 36 degrees now at 8:17. Welcome back to ONNJ Jersey Mornings. I'm Ken Rosato. Straight to meteorologist Mike Favetta to find out about more wintry weather headed our way. Good morning, Mike.
Yeah, Ken, good morning to you. Another round of winter weather, chicken soup or tortellini and brodo weather by the time we get to this weekend.
Sorry.
Tortellini and brodo. I vote too. I just finished the chicken soup, so now soupless. So I guess we're going to have to make it this weekend because it's one of those days, Ken, you're just going to want to stay inside. With the cold weather, the snow falling, it's going to have a nice, oral scene outside as the winter weather gets going. Even though it's mild this afternoon, we started off quite mild across New Jersey with a little bit of rain. Now, just clouds. And with that, a mild push of air as the next batch of wet weather surges to our north. We will be stuck in this little warm area, this patch of weather that will provide 50 degrees or better through this afternoon. Then we get to tomorrow, and we're back in the freezer. Then we get to Saturday, and it snows in the morning. Snow gets going probably late morning, early afternoon, and comes down steadily throughout the midday into, say, 5 or 6 p.m. So daytime snow this time around, anywhere north and west of the Atlantic City Expressway. South and east likely see mostly rain due to that warmer weather moving in. But with that snow lingering for several hours during the day, right up until about sunset, there will be a good period of accumulating snow that could be upwards of 4 or 5 inches in the northern part of New Jersey, maybe less than an inch down south where that rain mixes in. Once we get to Sunday morning, this is pre-dawn hours, that all changes to a plain rain and likely, if not washes away, probably packs down and compacts the accumulation to just a sloppy, wet mess due to temperatures rising well above freezing statewide. By 11 a.m. on Saturday, we'll be up near 60 degrees in southern New Jersey, even 50s in the northern part of the state, and it stays pretty mild throughout the day. So plain rain for Sunday before that transitions back to cold weather come Monday. Your forecast snow totals across the state will start off accumulating late in the morning, get about 1 to 2 inches by, say, mid-afternoon, and then it could accumulate to about 2 to 4 inches northwestern corner of the state, up to an inch or two down closer to Monmouth and Ocean County, only in the real northwest corner of the state, that extreme northwest corner, there in the hills by Sussex County, north of Route 80 in Warren County. That's where you could see up to 5 or 6 inches. So it's predominantly limited to that area. Again, the bigger picture showing that rain moving out, although we've only seen up to about just over a quarter of an inch there in Cape May and less than a quarter of an inch for you in Atlantic City. Temperatures today in central New Jersey holding in the 50s. It'll feel quite pleasant as more sun breaks through, even though most of the early morning showers will make it look kind of gray and dismal for the first part of the day. We look forward to some soaking rains on Sunday because we really need that rain as that drought continues. Up to 2 inches expected, which is great news considering how dry it's been. So first, another round of snow on Saturday, changing over to rain by Sunday as temperatures turn milder by Sunday afternoon. But the big temperature swings this time of year, Ken, are typically what people claim get them sick. So already a pretty rough flu season, and then you've got 17 degrees one morning, 60 the next afternoon. Big changes just hours apart.
And of course, you do not get sick from the cold. You could lower your resistance, and that's if you still have to be exposed to the virus, right? It doesn't spontaneously generate in your body
Oh, of course
unless
not.
it's there.
But you ask, as we keep on this Italian American theme here, you ask anyone with a cold neck,
That's how you get
immediately
cold.
you get cold.
That's how you get sick. My grandmother used to say, if food even got lukewarm for a second, you're going to get a stomach ache. That's what we were raised with,
So,
right?
right.
All right. Let me heat it on the stove. All right, Grandma. It's
But
all good.
we're smarter now. We're smarter.
And somehow we survived. Unreal. All right. Thank you very much, Mike. Much appreciated. Go have some tortellini and brodo now on this beautiful tortellini day. It is 8:21 right now, and we did tell you about a couple of traffic incidents really fast before we go to Andre Domino, I promise. We have an emergency construction situation still with that sinkhole on I-80 eastbound in Wharton. There's a disabled tractor trailer, New Jersey Turnpike, I-95 local lanes northbound, just south of exit 72. That's by routes 1 and 9 in Leonia, one left lane blocked. Also a crash on 295 southbound exit ramp, exit 25, and that is in Westville. And we have a crash on I-78 eastbound at exit 20, which is in Lebanon Township. One left lane is closed. The ongoing debate about whether Columbus Day should remain on school calendars was the subject of a Rockaway Township School Board meeting last night. They revisited their contentious decision to possibly eliminate the holiday and replace it with, get this, Oppressed Peoples Day. With us this morning is Andre Domino, president of the Italian American One Voice Coalition, who's been at the forefront of this debate. Thank you for joining us again this morning, Andre.
Well, Ken, breaking news on your show. Columbus Day has been preserved in the Rockaway Township school system.
Praise God. What was the vote?
Well, actually, I just got to tell you how this laid out because it was really something. They have the public portion at the very beginning of the meeting. And so therefore there was myself and an impassioned group of Rockaway residents and local Unico chapter members. And we laid out all the details about Columbus and how they shouldn't fight, shouldn't bring a division and should work for unity and so forth. So the whole public portion was there. But then they did not go the vote. They actually went through the entire agenda. And I think maybe they were hoping that we would go away because of the snow that was coming and so forth. But we all stuck it out and waited there. And believe it or not, at the very end of the meeting, there was a unanimous vote to preserve Columbus Day on the calendar.
Wow. And what did they have, 5 or 7 members of the board?
Yeah, there's 6 members of the board. And of course, the superintendent was there, and secretaries and so forth. So, they had a full contingent there. And of course, there was the concern of the snow, but there was a great group we had there and laid out all the details about Columbus. And as you mentioned, oppressed people, well, that's what was discussed, about how Italian Americans was so oppressed and our ancestors had such difficulty here. And I don't know, Ken, I think it was an overwhelming response from the members that were there to preserve Columbus Day that they really barely discussed. They actually didn't discuss it. They just waited till the end of the meeting, again, maybe hoping that we would go away, but we didn't. We stayed there, and there was a unanimous vote, and it's preserved, at least for the next year.
Andre, first of all, God bless every one of you for showing up, because so many people say, I'd love to go, but it's snowing. I got to get up for work. Oh, you do it. Everybody makes somebody else do it. You put your money where your mouth was. You showed up. I'm sure you had to drive quite a distance to get there. You rallied the troops and you made the point, because it's the, as they say, the squeaky hinge gets the oil. This is why so many liberals get their way, because they show up. Why? Many of them don't work. They either live in mommy's basement, they get paid by these liberal groups that were funded by USAID, by the way. We're now finding this out. Andre, take note. In the next few months, you will not see liberal protests all over the country. Now we're getting to the bottom of it. USAID was a secret way of funneling money to all these left-wing causes, and all these little protesters were either former unemployed people or students who were getting a check. That's why when I was covering stuff for Channel 7, you would see buses show up 2 blocks away loaded with these protesters who were shipped in from other places. Why? Because they knew the TV stations were going to go there. This was a coordinated effort every time. The TV stations would get a press release the day before. There's going to be a big rally. The big rally was all these kids they would go pay from colleges who would show up. Now, the average viewer at home says, look at all these people. This is their opinion. They think X, Y, and Z. They think Columbus should be done away with. And that shifts opinion. It's artificial and inorganic. And God bless you people for showing up and making it known that we are the majority, not them. But unfortunately, it's like whack-a-mole, right? You got to stay on top of them.
Well, and that's the point. We want people to know that across this country, if this comes up in cities or towns, we're going to be there. We're going to have our defenders from around the country that are going to be there to oppose these crazy ideas of getting rid of Columbus Day. And, to that end, we tell them that they should be unifying people, not dividing them. Just like we had a milestone event where we made a relationship with the Native American Guardians Association. And I actually presented a letter last night to the board from the Native American Guardians Association where they support us in our preservation of Columbus Day. So it kind of takes away that message that they have that it's against Native Americans.
And that's the best part. There, by the way, are 3 or 4 national holidays for Native Americans. As far as I'm concerned, there should
Correct.
be 40. They were here. This is not about being disrespectful to them. In fact, this isn't
Correct.
about being disrespectful to oppressed peoples. As you mentioned, Italians were oppressed people when they came here. So I'll show up myself and I'll support an oppressed people's day. They deserve a day. Just don't take away Columbus Day in the process. Don't be disrespectful to Italians in the process. That's the point. We're all for it. Listen, Martin Luther King, God bless him. He was a great, great man. There's so many people who are being honored who should be honored, and that's a good thing. But don't backhand one large group, by the way, of people, the Italian Americans, because you decide to nitpick about something in the past. Nobody was perfect. Everybody's hero today was a villain at some point in the past. You could probably pick from the calendar of saints of the Catholic Church. You could look at all those saints and you could pick up a bunch of stuff when they were younger and say, how did this person end up a saint? St. Augustine, perfect example. He was a whoremonger. Did you know that? St. Augustine, who became a pope. He was a carouser. He picked up ladies of the evening until he had a conversion. So should we not make him a saint? Should we remove him from no, because he changed. It's not where you start, it's where you end up. And where did the New World end up? The people who live in the Dominican Republic today celebrate Christopher Columbus because of the civilization they have today that they didn't have back then. They were roving tribes of people killing one another until Columbus and the people from Europe came in. Then they became converted to Christianity. They stopped killing one another. And it's a beautiful, beautiful country. Go visit the Dominican Republic. I think it's awesome. And the people are just terrific. So, I would think, like you said, take it from the Native Americans, take it from the Dominicans. They're not saying get rid of Christopher Columbus. So maybe we should all take a lesson, all the pearl clutching liberals who try to champion a cause that doesn't exist.
Well, and not just, of course, the importance of Columbus uniting the continents and bringing the Western culture here, but for Italian Americans, Columbus Day is an atonement or an apology for the lynchings and horrible treatment that they had. So it's a very important iconic symbol to Italian Americans, plus the fact that he united the continents and really changed the entire world. And don't forget, it still is a federal holiday. So I'm just telling all those schools and cities and towns that are out there, if you try to do this, we're going to be there and we're going to oppose it, just like we did last night.
Just like Christmas. Christmas is a United States federal not constitutional, excuse me, but congressionally approved, voted on, and approved holiday. So is Columbus Day. It was suggested by the president at the time, who knew that he was looking at not getting reelected. He didn't get reelected, as a matter of fact, because he had waning support among the people. And he looked at supporting a Columbus Day as a means of bolstering his support. And that's why he got behind it. But it was because of the dozen or so Italian Americans who were lynched, who were accused of assassinating a sheriff in one Louisiana town. It turns out they didn't do it. They were acquitted in court, but yet the townspeople got them all together in the town square and shot them. One guy was shot 42 times, and he was innocent. So think about that. And that's what Columbus Day was for. Andre Domino, president of the Italian American One Voice Coalition, please continue to stay on top of this issue. Let us know the next place. Unfortunately, there will be a next place that you have to go to, and we'll put you on the air here once again.
Great. Thank you, Ken.
You're the best, Andre. Thank you. All right, my friend. It's 8:30 right now. And in other news, a major crackdown on egg sales as the bird flu is leading to further egg shortages and higher egg prices. Eggs have been hard to come by for some consumers, with empty shelves spotted in some stores dating back to late last year. Now, a bunch of retailers are scrambling to limit the number of eggs that consumers can purchase per visit. Costco customers limited to 3 packages of eggs. Sam's Club confirmed a limit of 2 packages per customer. It's thought that prices will rise by as much as 20% in the coming weeks before healthy chickens can mature and start laying more eggs. That will eventually help egg prices to drop once again. But for all the liberals screaming, "What's Trump doing about the cost of eggs?" Avian flu started under President Biden, so stop clutching your pearls. For the second straight year, the Super Bowl did monster viewership numbers, with a record 126 million people tuning into the game on average, despite the Eagles trouncing the Chiefs 40-22 in a game that was never really competitive. That also explains why the game topped out at 135.7 million viewers in the second quarter, meaning the total average number could have been even bigger if Kansas City had kept things closer. But as our Gerald D'Ambra pointed out the other day, many people, millions in fact, streamed it live on Tubi, which is a wholly owned subsidiary of Fox that carried the game. It is now 36 degrees, and when ONNJ Jersey Mornings returns, we will take your calls at 888-658-0234. Plus, meteorologist Mike Favetta returns with a full Garden State forecast and another winter storm possibly headed our way this weekend. Again, when ONNJ Jersey Mornings returns in just a minute. Very good morning. 36 degrees now at 8:33. Another winter storm could be headed for New Jersey. I'm Ken Rosato, and welcome to ONNJ Jersey Mornings. Straight to meteorologist Mike Favetta with the Garden State forecast. Good morning, Mike.
Good morning, Ken. Ken, you looking forward to more snow this weekend, or are you kind of over winter by now?
I'm looking forward to National Tortellini Day, which is today. That's
National
what I'm looking forward to.
Very excited. My mouth is watering. So going to be so great. Got to go find all the ingredients, source them today. I know we said eggs are hard to come by. Saw bare shelves yesterday. Even some people in the aisle, they look to me. I guess I'm the friendly face when you walk down the aisle. They think I work there. They're like, where are the eggs? I'm like, do you think I know? I can't just.
If you're wearing a jacket, if you're wearing a suit jacket, they assume you're working at the store. Always.
That must be. I have to stop running out to the food store in the middle of the show. That must be the case. But even still, if you're looking around this weekend for something to do, plan indoor activities on Saturday, because it'll be snowing, it'll be wet, it'll be kind of cold. Sunday stays wet again, milder though, and then we've got beautiful weather by Monday. So a spring feel this afternoon, decent weather to get outdoors. But tomorrow, while it's sunny, it is so much colder, and that chilly weather sticks around through the end of our Friday. So much cold air that Saturday starts as snow, stays snowy through the afternoon, and then it turns much milder for Sunday. changing part 2 of the system back to a plain rain. This afternoon, look at these temperatures in South Jersey, likely hitting the mid 50s. I think we'll get to 51 degrees by midday. A little bit of sunshine breaks through, adding a few degrees to those numbers. It'll feel quite pleasant. So all of the snow and rain from this morning moved offshore. Now, the remainder of the day, a few spotty sprinkles picking up on the radar picture in northern New Jersey, but some clear sky trying to break out, and then a little blip of moisture there coming across the southern portion of the state, picking up some light rain there. But overall, I think with our next round of wet weather not arriving until Sunday, because it snows on Saturday, we're looking good for the rest of the day. Pretty dry with some clearing in the skies. That'll happen shortly after the lunch hour. Some breaks of blue, and that helps temperatures climb to 53 in Trenton, 51 over toward Toms River. Looking quite nice as well going into the end of the day. With the temperatures that will hold on the unusually mild side. Yeah, I froze. I saw that. All right. You still have my audio? All right. Well, we'll just keep going. Let me reload this real fast.
Okay. See, this is what happens when you talk about National Tortellini Day. I know Mike's gonna bring his camera, but there he goes. Hi, Mike. We've been talking about you while you were gone.
Oh no! Oh boy! Hopefully, it wasn't anything too bad about the snow. But there are brighter days ahead. Somebody might have my call-in number. Check on that, because that's typically the case when they knock me off, and it just goes to me. We'll see. It happens. The tech issues continue, but it's all about the very chilly weather that comes in for tomorrow. Notice with the temperatures driving down into the teens by overnight into early Friday morning. While we're in the 50s this afternoon, it does not stay that warm. We're back in the teens come early on. 27 degrees in Long Branch tomorrow morning. And with the single-digit wind chills on top of that, yeah, it makes it feel brutally cold. So all that cold air is in place for the snow to get going by Saturday. And with that, we'll start off late in the morning, some snowflakes falling, rain south of the Atlantic City Expressway, and all of that snow takes over for the northern half of the state, really most of the state, with the most snow falling in northern New Jersey, where the snow will be a little lighter and fluffier. Notice temperatures, they stay at or below freezing north of Route 78, but by the evening time frame around sunset, we'll be well above freezing, so that rain-snow line will shift its way further north throughout the afternoon on Saturday. It's rain we really need, given that it's been so dry, so the rainfall chance is much higher going into Saturday, and especially for Sunday, when it is a plain liquid rain, likely no frozen precip on Sunday, because it'll be simply too warm. So the forecast wind chill going into the next few hours features a big drop off. Again, this is late tonight. We wake up feeling like 5 degrees tomorrow morning up in Sussex County, Morristown, Flemington feels like 6, even in Newark. 14 degrees. Can't even head down the shore to escape the cold. 12 in Millville, and feels like 13 in Cape May. So the cold weather sticks around, lasts all day, and that promotes our very snowy forecast for Saturday until the warm air returns yet again. You can see it here with the Futurecast. Warm front comes in today, cold front this evening, allowing for a very cold overnight into tomorrow. Beautiful sunshine tomorrow with the high pressure until we get to Saturday, as that snow starts off in the morning, lasting through the midday and early afternoon. And then with that changeover, there's that rain snow line with the warm front working its way northward. It sticks around throughout Sunday, promoting more rainfall as we kind of ride along that front, giving us more wet weather throughout the day on Sunday, up to about an inch or two, likely by the shore points. And so hour by hour, you can see here with most of that clearing out by Sunday afternoon. We begin Monday nice and dry, lingering clouds in the morning, but we eventually see the sun return, and it's clear as well for Tuesday with that cold weather back again to start off next week. So yeah, it'll still be quite chilly even as we head into next week. Quick note on this forecast snowfall totals. I think by the end of the morning on Saturday, we'll start to see a light accumulation, ultimately accumulating to about 1 to 2 inches in Hackensack, maybe upwards of 4 or 5 or 6 inches in that darkest area in the northwestern corner of the state, and then likely holding just at about an inch or two down along the shore points. The further south you head, the less snow falls. 7-day forecast has that snow Saturday, rain on Sunday with another mild feel, and then going into next week, Monday and Tuesday time frame, it gets chilly. We stay in the teens and 20s overnight, only warming to 30 by the afternoon. So we're back below freezing for a good portion of next week after that round of, well, roller coaster weather. We go from the rain to the snow, back to mild weather, up near 60 in South Jersey come Sunday. And then by Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, holding right around that freezing mark, Ken, into early next week. So yeah, some pretty busy weather ahead through the next several days.
All right, just not that I'm hungry or anything, but so far we've talked about Tortellini Day. You mentioned the word chili, and coming up in just a minute, we have a guy named Ham. So there's a theme. Do you notice a theme here? Just saying. Just saying.
Yeah, I mean, we can't get away from it, can we?
All right. It's a good thing. 36 degrees. Thank you, Mike. 36 degrees at 8:39. And we do have some traffic I need to tell you about really fast. There's a crash right now on 495 westbound, west of Pleasant Avenue, Union City. The right lane is blocked. Disabled tractor trailer, Jersey Turnpike. And that is located on, I-95 local lanes, northbound south of exit 72 in Leonia. One left lane blocked. Crash on 295 southbound exit ramp at exit 25, which is in Westville. The right shoulder is closed. And finally, don't forget, we still have that sinkhole in Wharton. That's on I-80, and that is eastbound, and everybody's being detoured off. So lots of traffic to watch out for in the area. Our time now is 8:40, and we have some exciting news from the heart of New Jersey's cultural scene. Radio Garden State, the state's own internet radio station, has just announced a dynamic partnership with the Jetty Rock Foundation. Here to tell us all about it is Mike Ham. See, I mentioned Ham, the founder of Radio Garden State. Mike, welcome to the show. And I love that a radio guy is named Ham as in ham radio. Maybe I'm the only one old enough to get that.
That's right. Well, I mean, honestly, our LLC, my business is Ham Radio Productions. So we really embraced it, and we really went for it.
So let's get started with a streaming, because I was a radio guy for 20 years. I was on 10 different radio stations. I owned my own radio licenses around the country. So I'm a radio geek at heart. How did you get started with a streaming radio station?
So October 2021, I've actually been on the morning show a couple times before to talk about it. Greetings from the Garden State podcast, which is a podcast all about New Jersey. So that was October 2021. Fast forward to October 2023, I got laid off from my full-time job. So now it was the training wheels were off and we were just going for it. And then getting into 2024, we were trying to do some bigger things. So we did our Jersey Fest event, which is our cultural event with Jersey bands, beers, spirits, food. And then we got to July and I said, why not take what we're doing with the podcast and do it all the time, so we essentially launched Radio Garden State July 1st, 2024. And it was really just taking what we were doing with the podcast and some of the stuff that we were doing with some of our events and all that and turning it into a 24/7 channel where people can engage with Jersey bands, artists, podcasters. We do all sorts of stuff with just Jersey creators. So that's kind of how we got to where we are now. And since July, we've done a lot of really cool things. You mentioned a partnership with the Jetty Rock Foundation. We put that together. We just announced that yesterday. We're working on some others, but really seeing the need really for, platforms like On New Jersey and the morning show and what we're doing over here, like a need for Jersey centric stuff, because I think we kind of get split in half all the time. And
and by what you mean, it's the southern half of New Jersey is the Philly market, the northern half is the New York market, and New Jersey is the loser in between, because Philly concentrates on Philly, New York concentrates on New York, and then we're the odd man out in the middle. We're saying, hey, how about doing the fire in Union City? How about going to Vineland and doing a story? We get ignored by the major media there, and it's great that you exist. And you mentioned now we were talking about this, the Jetty Rock Foundation. That's a big deal. That's like a big music festival. Tell us about what the collaboration means for your internet radio station, Radio Garden State.
It is awesome. When I had the CEO, Jeremy DeFilippis, on the podcast last year, the CEO of Jetty, and when I had reached out, we were reaching out to some different brands and businesses and stuff that I felt shared our same common goal of, cultural stuff in the Garden State and all that, and kind of protecting, what makes New Jersey special. So when I reached out to Jeremy and I kind of pitched the idea of kind of what we're doing and how we operate, and it really resonated with him and his team. So they came back and we kind of put this partnership together. And really the Jetty Rock Foundation, not only do they do a bunch of events, like we're going to be, broadcasting live from the Coquina Jam, from their Hop Sauce Festival, all things to raise money for, people affected by storms or, the surf community and all that. So we're really just going for it. Our Jersey Fest event, we're going to donate some funds to the Jetty Rock Foundation, the percentage of the profits that we make from the event. And it was really important for us to align ourselves with a brand that is dedicated to Jersey, is dedicated to culture, is dedicated to the arts, is dedicated to, people that are just doing really great things here in the state. And it was honestly when they came back and they said, we're into this. And I was like, yes, that was one of the ones that we really wanted to land as a partner for Radio Garden State.
The amazing thing about this, Mike, is years ago, 10 years ago, 5 years ago, even, I think an internet radio station would have been something that was done as a hobby. Today, it can be done as a business. And I think part of it is you have the apps that everybody uses that they stream. You have things like Android Auto and Apple CarPlay so that when people walk into their car, shut the door and start the car, they're not listening to the terrestrial radio that's in front of them. They're listening to what's streaming off their phone, which could be a terrestrial radio station, or in your case, it could also be an internet radio station, and it's seamless. Really, today, it's a game changer. And this is why a lot of the major radio corporations are starving. They're all dying on the vine. I still work for one. In fact, I work for the largest radio company in America. You know who they are. Let's just do this as I tap my chest. You know who they're talking about, who I'm talking about. I work for them still. I'm freelance, but I still go on the air with them. And but internet radio, you would say, oh, okay, cute. That's nice. Who listens to that? That's not the case anymore. And you have, and the difference is you can prove the actual number of people streaming your station, whereas broadcast stations can't do that unless they look at the app. So that's the amazing thing. Now it's a matter of us being able, and I say us because we're in exactly the same boat as you. It's about monetizing it so that people say, oh, this free thing. Well, okay, it's free, but we got to eat too. So,
it's not free for me. I'll tell you that.
Well, right. Exactly. Yeah. And neither me, neither both of us. So here, I spent 39 years on television and radio in New York City. And all of a sudden I find myself off on a skiff in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean. And I know same situation for you. So has that been a little daunting, a little challenging, a little frightening for you?
No, because I don't get scared. No, it's been terrifying, honestly. So, I mean, but I just looked at it as an opportunity. And like I said, in 2024, we were just trying to take some big swings. So that's why we put on Jersey Fest in May. We put on another Jersey Fest in November. We launched Radio Garden State in July. And really, it was a matter of, I knew going in, discoverability is always an issue for internet radio, because you're not on a dial. Like people come up to us when we're broadcasting from like the Prudential Center or at a dive bar someplace, and they're like, what channel are you on? And I'm like, RadioGardenState.com, or a couple other apps that we're on. But we also wanted to kind of bridge that gap and fix that discoverability issue and take back control a little bit. So we actually worked with NJIT in the fall. They built us our very own Radio Garden State app. So it'll be the stream platform. It'll be a community chat. It'll be the store. It'll be events. Really everything to kind of get the community engaged and talking to each other. And we're hoping to have that launched by the end of the month. So that was kind of our fix, like why not, if you can't get a seat at the table because it's hard, build your own table. So that's kind of where we were at with that. And, from advertising and all that kind of stuff, like that's all great. We're really, obviously that's what makes the wheel turn. But really partnerships like our partnership with Jetty and the Jetty Rock Foundation are really what's going to help push us forward and get us in the faces of people and let them know that we exist.
Because the people who show up for Jetty Rock are going to want to hear it. They want to put their earbuds in, and they can actually stream it with you guys, with Radio Garden State, which is just an amazing thing. I mean, I was down, I live part-time in South Florida, and there is an internet radio station just for South Beach. And they have signs up all over the beach. They got permission from the Miami Beach Convention and Visitors Bureau, and they put up these little, very nicely produced signs. They're professionally done. And it's like, tune into whatever, the app, or people all over the place were listening. I heard some people cranking it. I was like, it's a whole different era, because I worked for 106 BLI years ago on Long Island, which was a huge top 40 station, 50,000 water, which they're great. They're a great station today, but their audience it's just nowhere near what it was, because the diversity that you have online today. I hope that Radio Garden State becomes monstrous. I am so supportive of you. I will be listening to you. And one of the things that killed broadcast radio is the reliance on ratings and having to do everything by quarter hours. Look at the time. We went long. We're not worried about a Nielsen rating because we don't have it. It's about people streaming. People at home don't say, oh, it's a quarter hour click. Oh, we got to get the ratings point. Nobody at home knows anything about what I'm speaking right now. And you know what I'm talking about. And that's what destroyed the industry. And it's nice to see people like you and us here at ONNJ Jersey trying to change the whole landscape. So listen, don't be a stranger. Let's be a partnership here. Let's promote one another. And I support you all the way, man. I hope you guys do great.
Thank you, Ken. I really appreciate that. And yeah, let me know. I'm into it.
You bet, Mike. Don't be a stranger. Come back anytime. Anything you got to promote, anything you want to talk about, we want you on. All right? Please.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
All right, buddy. You bet. Mike Ham, the founder of Radio Garden State. Definitely check him out. You can just Google it. You'll find it, and easy to get to. And now, as he said, he's going to have his own app. Awesome stuff. All right, it's 8:49, and we are going to take a quick break. I mean, quick. Our phone lines are not open anymore. I was going to announce that they are, but they're not open because we're so late right now. But we do have lots more coming up in the next 10 minutes. So definitely come back with Mike Favetta, meteorologist. He has the Garden State forecast. More winter weather right ahead. Don't go away. Welcome back. It's 37 degrees now at 8:51. 11 people won free lift tickets at Mountain Creek Resort in Vernon by reciting the Gettysburg Address for Abraham Lincoln's 216th birthday. The challenge was held at Red Tail Lodge. It was a unique blend of history and winter fun. Take a look.
7 years ago, our fathers brought forth on this continent a new nation, conceived in liberty and dedicated to the proposition that all men are created equal.
As a final resting place for those who gave their lives in a nation like this. It is altogether fitting. Now we are engaged in a great civil war, testing whether that nation or any nation
people for the people shall not perish from the earth. A new nation conceived in liberty dedicates the proposition that all men are created equal.
Good for them. That's great. I wish I could memorize. Congratulations to all the winners. Happy skiing. It's a great community. Check it out. All right. It's 8:52 right now. And if you think that winter's gone and that we have spring to look forward to, hate to disappoint you. It is 37 degrees, and meteorologist Mike Favetta joins us now to tell us about some more wintry weather headed our way this weekend. Good morning, Mike.
Ken, I think the slopes are going to be packed this weekend. They're really getting some steady snow throughout the day. Fresh powder on a Saturday? What could be better given how we've had some, kind of iffy weather the last few days with some warmer trends. Hard to make snow when it's 50 degrees this afternoon. But I think later on tonight with a big rush of cold weather, get another base out there and looks good going into tomorrow. So with the cold air that lingers for the day on Friday, we look forward to light snow taking over Saturday morning into the afternoon before that changes over to rain late Saturday night. It's a steady rain that'll give us about an inch or two of liquid on top of whatever snow that falls on Saturday. So good news is we help put another dent in our drought situation and keep those reservoirs filling up. The snow totals that'll fall throughout the day on Saturday, getting going, light accumulations begin in the early afternoon and then accumulate to about 1 to 2 inches in Newark, maybe 2 to 4 back by Morristown. But you see up towards Sussex County, it could be upwards of 5 or 6 inches up in ski country, that dark shade of blue extending there even up towards western sections of Passaic County, just west of 287. I think we'll see some bigger numbers there. Further less, you head south. The 7-day forecast has plenty of cold for tomorrow, and then the snow for Saturday, mild with rain on Sunday, and then the cold returns by Monday and Tuesday. So that roller coaster effect bringing us right back down into sub-freezing territory, even in the afternoons come President's Day. South Jersey has a little more rain mixing in on the onset for Saturday, especially south of the Atlantic City Expressway. Sunday, plenty of wet weather for you, where the worst of the drought is, upwards of 2 inches of rain on Sunday afternoon. And then Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday hovering just around freezing, but overnights get chilly. Very cold weather ahead into next week. So while it'll be nice and mild today, Ken, it's right back to a chilly start to next week, as winter is not over just yet.
No, and not at all. All right. Thank you so much, Mike. And thanks for the heads up. I'll keep that shovel at the end of the garage. Appreciate it. All right, sir. Enjoy your day. And at 8:54 right now, checking traffic. We have an emergency construction situation still. That sinkhole on I-80 eastbound at exit 34 in Wharton. All lanes closed and detoured. We have a crash on 495 westbound. That's in Union City. One right lane blocked. Disabled tractor trailer, New Jersey Turnpike, I-95 local lanes northbound just south of exit 72 in Leonia. One left lane blocked. And we have a crash on 295 southbound exit ramp at exit 25 in Westfield. The right shoulder is closed. 8:55 now. Senate Republicans on Wednesday moved President Trump's agenda forward by advancing a budget resolution focused on immigration and military priorities. The Senate Budget Committee passed its resolution on a party line 11-10 vote. The resolution unlocks a process called budget reconciliation, which bypasses the Senate filibuster, but will require near unanimity among GOP lawmakers in both chambers. It would give Republicans a key political win in the heart of Trump's first 100 days. Used to be there was too much senior housing. The glut of housing choices kept prices somewhat affordable for the aging population. Well, all that's about to change as millions of aging baby boomers turn 80 in less than a year. And by 2030, the U.S. population of 80 years and older is expected to increase by more than 4 million people to nearly 19 million, which will likely leave many on a waiting list for affordable senior housing. 8:56 from the Damn, That's Cool file. Students at a Somerset County charter school got to interview an astronaut who was stationed way above the Earth aboard the International Space Station. That astronaut, Nick Hague. He was about 250 miles above the Earth when he was able to answer a dozen questions from students at the Thomas Edison Energy Smart Charter School. That's in Franklin Township. They asked questions ranging from whether you can grow plants in space to whether the people in the International Space Station get bored. Got to wonder about that, especially the people at the International Space Station who only intended on being there for a week or two, who ended up getting stuck there for months and months. Should let you know what's going on in Congress. In the Senate, there were hearings, of course, much late into the night, talking about the confirmation of RFK Jr., and that's going to be going on this morning when they all reconvene. So if there's going to be a passing by the Senate, it would likely happen today. That's, again, the RFK Jr. hearings in the Senate. Also, right now in Congress, they are debating the USAID spending. In fact, the former USAID acting COO, and that's the way it's pronounced, USAID, not USAID, is testifying. He's kind of feisty. He's a little bit upset. He doesn't like the fact that there are billions and billions of dollars that was uncovered by the people at DOJ that was being misappropriated, inappropriately spent on left-wing causes, not just in this country. We'd be bad enough if it was spent here. Then you could say, well, it's just our politics. You know, one day it's left, one day it's right. Turns out he was spending that money to spread left-wing causes a la American style all over the world. 8:57, that is ONNJ Jersey Mornings for your what day is this? Thursday. I'm Ken Rosato. Tell all your friends about us. Remember, you can stream us at ONNJ.com, Roku, Fire TV, News on Samsung TV Plus, Apple TV, YouTube, Facebook, and X. We now stream live on Twitch. Go to twitch.tv on New Jersey. Catch you again tomorrow morning at 7. Have a great day.